If you're thinking about moving to Aurora, there's a lot you need to know. After years helping people relocate here, I've seen what draws new residents in and what catches them off guard. So today I'm going to show you actually what you need to know about living in Aurora, how daily life works, how schools and housing differ across the city, and how to tell if it really fits you. The first thing you need to know about Aurora is this. Aurora is the second largest city in Illinois, right behind Chicago. There's over 180,000 people living here. Because of that, Aurora doesn't behave like a typical suburb. It started as an industrial city right along the Fox River, which is why areas near downtown feel older and more historic. And as Aurora expanded outward, newer subdivisions were built and different school districts developed independently. That's why Aurora feels completely different depending on where you are, and why some people get confused when they move here. Now, Aurora is divided by the Fox River, so you're going to commonly hear people say things like, I live on the east side or on the west side. Now, all of that history matters, but what really shapes your experience here is the day-to-day stuff, where you shop, eat, and where you run errands. One of the biggest advantages of living in Aurora is that amenities are everywhere. But there are a few key corridors and hubs that you're going to need to know about. The first being the Chicago Premium Outlets, located right off 88 in Farnsworth. This gives you immediate on and off highway access and brings people from all over the western suburbs and sometimes Chicago. This mall has over 170 stores from Nike, Adidas, Aldo, Kate Spade, Coach, and a whole plethora of other stores. And if you're hungry or you need a pick-me-up midday shopping, there's a Starbucks, an Auntie Anne's, and a few sit-down places for a quick bite to eat. Now the second being the Fox Valley Mall. I know malls aren't what they used to be in the early 2000s, but who doesn't miss a good mall from time to time? They still hold a ton of places to shop, just like the premium outlets do, but the greatest thing about this mall is it's indoors. What I didn't tell you is the Chicago Premium is outdoors, basically. Now, its location to 59 makes this a prime location, also because you're close to Home Depot, Menards, Best Buys, and basically any type of food that you're interested in eating is all on one street right here. A couple other places to focus on are the Route 34 and the Orchard corridors. Now, these are main streets that go through this town, and this is where you're going to find more restaurants, big box retailers, gyms, grocery stores. This is just to name a few. But this also gives you an idea of where the major shopping is. So if you're looking to be close to something specific, you know where to get started looking. Now, all of that covers the practical side, but downtown is really where Aurora shows its personality and its history. You've got that historic old city feel the moment you're down by the river. Brick buildings, lights on at night, and real energy. The Paramount Theater is a huge anchor here, pulling people in for Broadway level shows, concerts, and events. And it gives downtown a culture that not every suburb has. Now, you've got the metro access just blocks away by Two Brothers Roundhouse, so Chicago commuting is realistic here. Now, the Hollywood Casino in Aurora has been part of the area for years, but now it's relocating right off 88. But this is also changing how downtown is going to evolve. But you add in walkability, local bars and restaurants on the street, and places like Two Brothers Roundhouse, where me and my wife got married. Downtown feels less like a suburb and more like a small city hub, where you come to eat, grab a drink, catch a show, and actually spend time walking around. Now, as someone who drives through here almost every week, you can see how they're really revitalizing these old buildings. You're watching new local restaurants show up, creating good anchors for more people to come down here and enjoy, and it's truly becoming one of the greatest downtowns I've seen. Now, I think over the next few years, if they can repurpose the casino once it's vacant, they can finish the apartment buildings and bring even more businesses downtown, they could probably create a downtown that will rival Geneva or St. Charles, and maybe Naperville one day. By the way, if you're thinking of relocating to Chicago or the suburbs, this is what I do every single day. So feel free to give me a call or sign up for my weekly newsletter right here. This is the part most people don't realize about Aurora, is its schools. The city feeds into 6 different school districts, and those invisible lines change prices and demand more than people ever expect. I'm gonna throw up some maps so you can see how large Aurora really is, all the school districts it services, and its boundaries, so you get a really good understanding here. Now, the 6 districts are East Aurora's 131, West Aurora 129, Indian Prairie 204, Oswego's 308, Caneland's 302, and Batavia's 101. That's an unusual number of school districts for one suburban city, and most buyers don't realize that moving in. One buyer can find a home under $300,000, another can spend $500,000 all the way up to $1 million, all because of how much area this town actually covers. When people start looking at schools in Aurora, this is where doing your research matters. I always recommend sites like niche.com, illinoisreportcard.com. It lets you compare districts' overall scores, diversity, academics, and their overall performance metrics. This is where a lot of buyers go to look when they begin their search, just to see exactly which school district best fits them, whether they have kids or they're planning to have kids. Now, one quick thing people overlook when they talk about schools is that Aurora is also home to Aurora University, or AU. This local college has been expanding with growth every year, buying up more property around it and really creating a great place of people looking for undergrad and graduate degrees. My wife actually got her master's here as a BCBA, and she has nothing but great things to say about this campus. Now that you have a better understanding of schools and what daily life looks like here, let's talk about what that actually means for home prices all across Aurora. To keep this simple, we're going to start on the west side of Aurora and move east, using zip codes so you can follow along on the map. Now, this is 60506 on the west side of the city. Average home prices here typically fall in the low 300s into the 400s, depending on the neighborhood and size of home. Now, the zip has one of the widest mixes of housing in Aurora. Closer to Lake Street and the river, homes tend to be a little bit older. Now, that includes areas like Downer Place, which is known for the historic properties. But there's also a small pocket near Orchard and Prairie that feeds into Chicagoland 302, not West Aurora 129. Now, homes there can push into low to mid 500s, which surprises a lot of buyers. Now, moving to the center of the city, this is 60505. This is generally the most affordable area of Aurora, with prices often in the low 200s to the low 300s. Homes here are older and they're closer to downtown. If you like character and you want the lowest entry price into Aurora, this is where buyers usually begin. All right, heading a little more east, you get 60503 and 60504. Prices typically range from the mid 300s to the low 500s here. Most of the housing here was built in the 2000s. You're closer to Route 30, Route 34, parts of Naperville, and the Route 59 corridor, which is why this area feels newer, but a little more spread out. And on the far east side is 60502. This is usually the highest price part of Aurora, with averages in the mid 400s to 500s and above. Highway access here is primarily off Eola Road, and there's an interesting outlier here just north of 88. Even though it carries an Aurora zip code, it feels more like you're in North Aurora or Batavia. It feeds into Indian Prairie as 204 and Batavia is 101. It doesn't feel like Aurora at all, and the split from 88 actually catches a lot of people off guard, even me. So that's Aurora, same city, same name, but very different price ranges depending on where you want to be. Now, this is the final piece that ties everything together: how you actually get around in Aurora. Aurora does have that direct commuter rail right through the metro, but where you live matters. If you live in 60505 or 60506, you're wrapped around downtown. The metro is convenient and it's realistic for regular use. Once you move further out, the metro turns into a 15-minute drive or even more. And at that point, a lot of buyers start looking at the Naperville train stations, or instead, maybe they're just gonna drive if it makes more sense. If quick access to 88 is important, living closer to the north side of Aurora usually makes the most sense here. If you're further south, especially in areas like 60503 that we talked about, you'll feel a little bit extra distance from the highways. Getting to the highway, the metro, or even major routes probably could be 15 or 20 minutes or more, depending on the time of day and traffic. Now, for buyers who frequently travel, they commute downtown, or they fly out of O'Hare often, that's something you definitely need to factor up front. And before we hop into our final point, if you're finding yourself having questions about the Chicago market, give me a call or sign up for my weekly emails where I keep you updated on the market, local shops, places to check out, and so much more. If you're thinking about moving to Aurora, don't think of it as one place. Think of it as different school districts, all different price points, different commute patterns and routines. Aurora is a great move when you choose the right part for how you actually plan to live. Now, I've spent 38 years here driving all over these roads, and I can tell you, when you actually plan out where you want to live, Aurora can seriously be one of the greatest places to live here. There's just so much to do. Now, I'll be breaking down specific Aurora neighborhoods in upcoming videos, so make sure you stay tuned. And if you want a bigger picture breakdown of the pros and cons of living in the Chicago suburbs, watch this next video. I'll see you there.